So, we came home on a Saturday. Avery was born on a Thursday. And when we came home, she woke up and she was hungry. And I knew I had to feed her, but I knew it was going to hurt. But I tried anyway, and it hurt. And we ended up, it hurt so bad, so we ended up giving her formula. So my husband was giving her formula, and I was just crying. So I was so sad that I could not nurse her. It was, I don't know, it could have been the hormones, but it was like the end of the world to me that I could not nurse her because I wanted to so bad. And I just couldn't take the pain. So we went to sleep that night, the first night she was home, and she started crying again. And we didn't have that much formula. We only had the samples that the hospital gave us. So that's all we had. We weren't trying to go and buy formula. And formula is like $25 for the canister. It's very expensive. So we really wanted to get this breastfeeding to work. So that whole night, I cried because I knew I couldn't feed her, and my husband was up all night, going back and forth getting the formula. And there were some times where I was trying, but it was hurting still because I was latching her incorrectly. So the next day, on a Sunday, the next day from when we came home, I woke up and I had so much engorgement from the milk because my milk had came in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, about 3 days after she was born. So it was like I had just got breast implants, like double D's. Like it was crazy. There was so much milk. So I was happy that the milk came in. So I was doing something right because the milk came in. So all I could do was pump. So I pumped the milk. I pumped as much that could come out as possible. And so it was happy too that we were able to feed her the breast milk out of the bottle instead of the formula. But it didn't last that long because she was eating every 2 hours. So as I was still in pain on that Sunday to breastfeed her. And what eventually happened was I started getting, well, this was during the week, I started getting dry skin, blisters, cracked nipples, like it was redness. It was bad. It wasn't so bad that I had to see a doctor, but it was bad, and it just hurt worse. So the lactation nurse called to check on me. I think probably like that Wednesday, maybe a week later after giving birth. And they want to know if I was still breastfeeding because they told me not to give her formula because if I gave her formula, then it was a possibility that I wouldn't be able to breastfeed her and that would bring my milk down. But she was getting formula and it didn't affect the milk at all, and it didn't affect my milk at all. But they told me, I told the nurse what was going on, and I told her I had blisters and cracked nipples, and she just said to feed her through the pain. I had to feed her, I had to keep feeding her, because if you don't, you can eventually get an infection, and you can get mastitis, I think that was called, and that's an infection of the breast, and it's really painful, I've heard. I didn't have it at all, but it's really painful. Or you get yeast infection in the breast, and so it's really important that even if it's hurting, even if it's very painful, you have to keep nursing. So I had to keep nursing her through the pain, and she eventually, I was still not latching her on right, but she was getting milk, so that made me happy. So let me see. I think that's it. That's how it went when we got home. Yeah, that was about it. Oh, I did use. There's this cream that you can use, and it helped a lot. I'm gonna go get it and show you. It's called lanolin cream. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce all these words, but it's like an ointment, and you rub it, and you can put it on the nipple, and it really helped. It was really beneficial to me. But so that was how it was the first week being home. It was still painful, but I was getting the hang of it, and she was actually getting milk. But we were still supplementing formula too until we ran out. So that was that. So after 2 weeks, um, it got a lot better because the first week and a half was like torture. But after 2 weeks, it was better. After 4 weeks, it was nothing to feed her. I just latched her on. She knew what to do, and she liked to breastfeed, and it was going good. Up until like 6 weeks, we still gave her formula, like if we went out, because it was difficult still to try to maneuver her in public. So if we went out, I would just give her formula for like 6 weeks, and after 8 weeks, at 8 weeks, she was exclusively breast milk. Um, some other things I want to talk about is when babies have growth spurts and they do this thing called cluster feeding, and it is crazy. I remember being at home with her. She was like around 8 weeks old, and she would sleep on the couch, and she would sleep for like 2 hours, and then I would nurse her. She would sleep 2 hours, and I would nurse her. Sometimes it was like every 45 minutes, every hour and a half, because I remember I wrote it down, and I was like, is this what breastfeeding is? And I was just so shocked by how much she was eating. And it was crazy. Even sometimes it was like 10 minutes later she wanted to eat again. And I just heard that it was because she was having a growth spurt. And it happened twice. I remember when she was really small, at 8 weeks, and then I think again when she was like 2 months old. But yeah, that was really something. The other thing is I started co-sleeping with her. So she slept with me and my husband, because at first she was in the bassinet next to where I slept, and next to the bed. And nursing her the first couple weeks, I would have to get up, take her out of the bassinet, or I would bring her into her room, and you had to change her diaper, and so it was a lot going on. And so eventually I was just like, leave her right here. I would nurse her and fall asleep, because I got tired of sitting up nursing her. So I taught her, or she learned how to nurse laying down, which was so much easier. So I would fall asleep nursing her. The other thing that I want to mention is that she was really attached to me, and I couldn't really go out. Like, she didn't even want to stay with my husband until she was like 6 months old. So I remember one time I went out for like 2 hours, and she cried and cried and cried and cried. And I had pumped milk for her. She would not drink it out the bottle. She didn't want anything to do with the bottle. She wouldn't drink out of a bottle after 6 weeks, ever. So after 6 weeks, she never drank out of a bottle again. She wanted anything to do with it. So that's kind of hard to get babysitters and go out when she wanted just to be with me all day. She didn't want anything to do with her father at first, and it was really bad. Her attachment was really bad, but it was a good thing. But I just couldn't do anything, so I was really tied down to nursing her for the first 3 months, because after 6 months she got a lot better. And the public feedings, I still didn't like feeding her in public, even though I would cover her up. But people always ask questions, or like people we know will ask questions, or people will just look at you, and it's kind of uncomfortable. But these babies have to eat, so I would think like, well, she has to eat. I don't have any other choice. This is how she eats. So I had to get over that, but it is what it is.